So a while back during my hiatus, I made this stool, leather top, tufted buttons, all cherry. I turned the legs on the lathe. It came out really nice, and I'm kicking myself now because I really should have made a video on it, but at the time I was kind of fed up with YouTube and I just wanted to concentrate on creating for myself. But as luck would have it, I have a chair or two inside. This is a reproduction vintage, a reproduction antique, and as you can see here, it needs repolstering. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to show you how I repolster a chair. Just to let you know, I am not by any means an expert repolsterer. There are tons of people online that can show you much better ways to do things than I can about upholstering anyway. But I want to show you how I do it, and hopefully it will be helpful to some people. So the first task is to remove all of these pins. So let's get to that. So before I get into this, I want to show you a tool that's probably going to be very helpful. This was developed by a Japanese company here, probably about 10 years ago or so. The company is called Engineer. It's a pair of pliers, but if you look at the head, try and get that into focus here, it's got a very unique tip. And this is designed to grab the head of nails. Check this out. Now, I'm not sure how well the camera is going to pick this up, but I have a nail here, and you can just see the head is sticking out. Now, I can take these pliers, and I can actually grab the head. You see that? So I grabbed the head of the nail and actually started to pull it out. Amazing stuff. So when I'm removing the pins from this chair, this will probably come in handy. So on antique reproductions, the pins are sometimes connected, and these look like they are. I think 1, 2, 3, 4. I think these 5 are connected here. These look like they're separate. Let's try one of these. So I'm going to use the pair of pliers that I just showed you. I'm going to grab the top of the pin and see if I can pull this out here. Oh, okay. Boom. Nice job. Okay, so I'm going to take off the remaining pins, and let's see what we have underneath. And so it's pretty slow going. As you can see, I've gotten one side off, and I just started on the back. I just wanted to show you the process that I'm using to get these buttons off, these nails off. So I got my special pair of pliers that I showed you earlier, and what I do is I just grab it and I ease it out enough to get this guy in there. And this is a Japanese nail remover. It's got 2 different heads. I stick that in there. Boom. And out we come. Look at that. That one actually flew straight into my pile, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to continue to take those off, and I'll get back to you after I've removed the leather, and we'll see what's underneath that. Okay, so that went surprisingly well. Only took me about 15 minutes or so to get all of the nails out. And now we get to reveal what's underneath. This leather is pretty crusty. So I bought a reupholstering kit on Amazon. I'll show you that later. It comes with the top leather and all the cushioning that you need inside. So we don't really need this. And also, like I showed you earlier, I want to do tufted buttons like I did on that stool. And this has webbing. So the type of the chair seat is completely different. So I'm going to have to take off this webbing and then make a plywood base in order to fasten the tufted buttons to. So let me get this webbing off, and then I'll get back to you when I start making the base. So this is turning out to be more of a pain in the ass than I thought it was going to be. All the bands were attached with staples. I cut those out, and I also cut the bottom off. Unfortunately, the staples are really long, as you can see, and even with a staple remover, sometimes, as you can see here, the metal is just so old that it snaps. Now, that's probably a combination of the age of the staples, plus the hardness of the wood, plus the tool and the user using it, being me. But in any case, since I'm getting this result and I can't even if I try and take this out after the fact, try and ease it out. Okay, now that one came out. That's good. Let's try this one. Okay, see now that's what happens. It busts, and I'm left with a little stub, which I can't grab or do anything with. So I've been forced to hammer it back in, like so, or hammer it down so it doesn't cut anything. And as you can see, I've chewed up the wood pretty good, trying to get all these damn staples out. Thank goodness this will be all covered. It'll be underneath the seat cushion, so you won't see it. But ow, see that? It's peeking out right there. But it's not working out as easily as I hoped. Okay, well, that was a lot more work than I had anticipated. It took about almost 2 hours to get all those damn staples out. And most of them didn't come out anyway, so I had to nail them down. But anyway, this is what we got. The wood got pretty marked up. Any of you people out there that do upholstery for a living, please let me know if this is a normal occurrence, if you always have staples breaking stuff, because it was a pain in the ass, and my hat's off to you if you're doing this on a daily basis, because I definitely would not want to. So originally there were bands over this, which you sat on, and that gave you the cushioning, but I want to do a tufted cushion, so that means that I need to have some sort of seat here. So I have a piece of plywood up here. What I'm going to do is flip the chair over on top of the plywood and trace out that shape. We'll be able to make some adjustments later on the shooting board if necessary. I just want to get the approximate shape, and then we can cut it down little by little so that it fits. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. I cut that out and it fits pretty much perfectly in here. After I got the seat off this, I took a look at the chair, and I realized that it's actually pretty well made. I thought that this was a separate piece under here, but they actually cut a rabbet in these cross beams here, and then laid the corner blocks on top of that. So it's very, very sturdy, and it actually is perfect because I want this seat to be on the top here, like that. Okay, you want to be able to sit and have this flush with the top. So what I need to do is make some blocks and glue and or screw them here so that this will sit on top of that, and I can use these rabbets to do that. So I'm going to measure and cut out these blocks. So I have some scrap maple that I'm going to use for the blocks. It needs to be trued a little bit, so I got my shooting board out. Just going to put it here and shoot up. Ooh. True up the ends there. Okay, that looks good. And now I'm going to use the bandsaw and cut this down to 18 millimeters, which is the height of the blocks that I need. So the top of this chair is not a square, it's a trapezoid, and it's got some odd angles on the inside. So I'm just cutting the glue blocks with the correct angles so that they will fit in nice and snug. Okay, so I brought that over to the shooting board, and now that fits perfect. Okay, so that's going to go like that. I'll screw that and glue that, and we'll make the other three. So let me show you the process for attaching the glue blocks. I have them all cut, and I use the shooting board to adjust the height so that the plywood will sit flush with the top. Now I'm just going to run a bead of glue on the back. Nothing exciting. I'm going to attach that. I've also drilled pilot holes because this is maple and it's going to be a little bit hard to screw it through if you don't have them. So I'm going to take my drill bit here, and I don't want to go through the outside, but I do want to make a little bit of a pilot hole in the original hardwood. So I'm just going to put a piece of tape on that to make sure that I don't go through the other side. And then I'm going to go through the pilot hole. make another pilot hole, and then I'm going to take my screw, and there you go. Here are 2 tips for you. After you've worked with metal, if you've been sawing out pieces of brass or removing staples or whatever, make sure you clean the top of your workbench good. Brush it off really well, because even the smallest piece of metal can put nicks and scrapes in whatever woodwork you do after that. So make sure your bench is clean and free of all that debris before you go back to the woodwork. The other tip is when you're redesigning a chair or a piece of furniture, make sure that all your tools will be able to fit inside if you need to do work inside the carcass or the cabinet or whatever. For example, with the chair that we're reupholstering now, I've redone the design. Originally, the chair had bands on the top to support your weight. Now I've put a piece of wood inside the frame that we're going to support the weight with. So that wasn't originally there. So that means that the person that designed the chair didn't have to work on that piece of wood inside the chair. So what I mean by making sure that the tools will fit, the tools that you'll need, is that if we think this through, we're going to have to reupholster this, right? Which means, since we're doing tufted buttons, the buttons will go through holes in this seat, and I'll have to staple them to the bottom. So if I put this seat in now, if I secure it in, will I be able to get my staple gun in to staple everything that I need to back here? So I'm going to have holes here, 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 about like that. So that means that this staple gun will need to be able to get in here. And it looks like I have enough clearance to get to all the holes that I will need to. See, these blocks here were concerning to me. Last night, thinking about it, I wasn't sure whether I'd be able to get the staple gun in to all the places I needed to. So that's one thing that you need to check before you proceed whenever you're repairing a piece of furniture or doing something new. I just finished marking off the places where I want to have the holes for my tufted buttons, and I wanted to explain how I did that. First, I found the center of the seat on both sides and here, and I drew a cross, okay, right here. That center point is where I want my center button. Then I took the original cushioning and I put it back on, and I just used my fingers to kind of simulate where I want the buttons to see how it look. And then I took that off and I measured the distance, and it turned out to be about 12 centimeters between here and here. So that's where I marked off the other 2 center buttons. Then I drew parallel lines. Then I connected the points. And here, see how these points line up? And I drew a graph type pattern, which gave me my diamond pattern and showed me where I was going to put the other buttons. So then here, 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 here. So I have a total of 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 buttons on this chair. I bought this upholstery kit online on Amazon. I'm sure you can get the same thing in the States. I live in Japan. But it comes with a piece of leather for the top, and then a bottom cover piece to cover up the bottom of the chair. You have a piece of hard foam that goes in between the chair and this soft foam, which is underneath the leather, so you can build up the seat. I also purchased some buttons, upholstery buttons, and some buttons, button nails, I guess you want to call them. Not sure what they're actually called. These are actually used for taiko drums, Japanese taiko drums, but they're perfect for this type of antique chair restoration. So I'm not sure if this is the correct way to do this or not, but the way that I have done this in the past is, first I want to mark out the shape of the foam. So this is the original foam from the chair. I'm just going to take a marker and I'm going to mark out the general shape and leave it a little big so that I have room to play with. Let's see how that looks. Okay, good. So now I'm going to get an X-Acto knife and I'll cut that out. Now the next step is I want to lay out the holes in my leather, okay? So I'm going to put my leather down upside down, and then I'm going to take my seat, place that right here. Obviously I'm not going to use all of this, but I don't want to cut it yet. I want to put it on the chair, get the buttons through, get it all tacked down, and then I'll cut off the excess. So I don't want to cut this like I did the foam. There's no reason to do that. But I do need to lay out where the holes are going to be. I used to do a lot of leather work, so I have an abundance of leather working tools. Make sure you have a good hard rubber mat underneath your punch so that you don't damage your punch. So tufted buttons have a piece of string that's attached to the back that you have to feed through the seat and then attach to the underside using staples. So I need to put holes in the cushioning material to be able to feed the needle through. And what I've done is I made my own tool. I took a piece of, I think it's copper, might be brass, I'm not sure, piping, and I went over to the ground. I went over to the grindstone and I just put an edge all around it. So basically it's a big punch. And with this, with the cushioning material, it's really convenient because all you got to do is apply pressure and twist as you're going down, and that'll cut a hole for you. One more. Like that. So I wound up cutting out another piece of foam, same size as the top piece, because I sat on the chair and it just wasn't as comfy as I wanted it. So I did that. And now I'm going to take the top piece of foam, I'm going to line up the holes and draw lines like this. And these are going to be cut lines. When you do the tufted buttons, you want to have cuts in the styrofoam like this. Where am I going here? For the leather to lie in. It's going to kind of fold over itself. So now we have the lines. We're going to take your knife again, and you're going to make cuts right over the lines. Let's do all in one direction, and then we'll flip around. And when the leather folds on itself over these holes, when you pull it through, when you pull the button through, it's going to fold over itself and create a nice star pattern. The next order of business is to get our buttons in order. So I'm taking a piece of, it's waxed nylon thread, and I want to have, I don't know, about a little more than a foot or so, like that. Double it over itself, cut it, and then what you want to do, or what I do rather, is I take this and I thread the loop through and then put the ends through. This is called a girth hitch, like that. And this thread is really, really strong, so as I pull this down into the seat, I know that that's not going to break. Now I've made the second layer of cushioning smaller than the top so that when I pull the leather down, this will fold over and it'll be a nice curve on the edge. Now, again, let me tell you, I'm not an upholsterer. I don't know how to do this properly. I know that there are ways to glue this all together with adhesive and then also tape it down so that you give a nice form. Unfortunately, I don't really know how to do that. And I figure after I get the buttons in and pull it taut, then when I pull the leather down, it'll give me a nice enough shape that I'll be able to live with it. I mean, this isn't for a client or anything, it's for home use, so if it doesn't look that good, you know, whatever. It's a learning experience. So what we're gonna do is take the leather and match it up approximately where the holes are. A little dusty here. Let's see, let's make sure we got it going the right way. Okay. So the first hole is approximately over there. I'm going to start in the middle and then work my way out. So I'm going to take my needle, sail needle, and I go in through the bottom because that's where the hole in the wood is. It's a lot easier to see. And I'm going to poke it up and bring it up through the leather, like so. Then we're going to take one of the buttons and I'm going to thread the string, both ends of the string through. the needle, like so. And then I'm going to pull all of that through the other side. Take my needle out. And now I have my button in the center of the chair. Let's see, how do I want to do this here? I got to flip it over at some point to get to the bottom. I know that's going to be in the center, even if I flip all this stuff over, even if it falls off a little bit. But I need to get to the bottom of the chair, so I'm going to hold that like this. Okay. So basically, that's what I did. That type of pattern. Bring it over itself, put staples in, cross it over so that it doesn't pull out. So I've got 3 of the buttons in, and now you can see why we put those slits in the styrofoam on the top, because the leather can fold in on itself and you get this nice star pattern that's starting to emerge. So let me put another button in here. Let's go from this side up through the holes. And find the hole in the leather. That. Grab a button. Looks to be about the same level as the other ones. So I'm going to flip the chair over, get my staple gun. So I'm going to finish up that, and then we'll start pulling down on the sides and tacking it in with the Tyco drum nails. Okay, so I'm in the process of pulling this over and tacking it down. What I have done to make this a little easier is I want to tack this corner first, because there's the top of the leg that I need to go around. So I want to make it tight, and obviously I can't hold it. So what I've done is I took the staple gun and I just put 1 staple here and 1 staple here underneath, just to hold the leather down tight, because I want it to be like that after I get this in. So now I can take a pair of needle nose pliers and I can find where that leg is. Like that. Okay. Boom. So now I'll just go along and I'll cut that out after I have finished tacking up the front. Okay, so I have my corners in, the front and the back, and now I can tack down the sides. The way I like to do this is, since I don't exactly know how many tacks I'm going to use and I want this to be even, I'm going to start at the center, put 1 tack here, and then I'll do both sides, and then I'll go to the center of those. So let me show you what I mean. So from leg to leg, it's about 37. So that's going to be 15, 18 and a half. 18 and a half. So that's right there. Just put my finger there to remember where that is. And now I'm going to put my tack right there. And then I do the center here, and then the center in between there. And in that way, I can keep all the buttons even, and they'll all be symmetrical across the front and sides. Okay, so I have nailed in all the nails on all 4 sides. It's looking pretty good. Now we just have to trim the leather and these strings on the back, and then put the bottom cover on to protect all this. And there she is. So I got the bottom piece on. As you can see, covers up the bottom, makes it look all nice, and all the nails went on pretty well. pretty even. And see? Now, as I said many times, I'm not a professional upholsterer, which is why I have some knacky parts here. But I tell you, for a DIY project and home use, I think it came out pretty nice. I like this tufted button stuff. It feels really nice to sit in, and it just looks nice. So that's how I do it. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.